silver spoon to, you know, she's got no financial worries. But she was a drug addict. I think that's where she met Mark, who's originally from America. I think that's where they met, in rehab. But we'll check that as we go through the story. Let me put some windows down. Put some windows down. Okay. Yeah. How did she get involved with him? Anyway, what they've just been convicted of is manslaughter of their baby, because I'm not sure of the exact details of why they went on the run in the first place. I think it's because they'd had children taken off them before, and Constance had just had a baby Victoria, and I think they, you know, what they would say is they were scared of that baby being taken off them again, you know. But God, if only they could have taken the baby away from them. So they set off on the run across Britain. Started off, something went wrong with their car, and their car exploded into flames. We'll hear about that in the video we're going to watch. And they just then started walking, the two of them and baby Victoria. It was freezing cold. Don't know if you remember anything about this case. I have covered it before. If I remember, I'll put the links to the other videos in the description box. Anyway, let's have a look at the videos from Sky News that we're going to watch. Oh, first of all, I just want to tell you about this. So the father, Mark Gordon, before he came to Britain, in America, he had RAPD'd for a young girl when he was only 14 years old. Mark Gordon is a dangerous psychopath who should have been locked up for life as a child. An American woman he raped 36 years ago has told the BBC. He was jailed for attacking his neighbour at knife point in Miami when he was aged 14. And BBC News has now obtained US court papers revealing the shocking nature of the crimes. So by the time this has happened with baby Victoria, he's 51. I don't believe that between 14 and 51 he's never done anything else, do you? I mean, you know, has this guy done other things? Seems likely, doesn't it? If he RAP'd somebody at 14 years old and now he's 51, it's not likely to be the first time he's done anything, is it? Hi, David. Just, you know, sentences are too lenient, aren't they? Well, the sea will have got away with it because he was 14 at the time. He's a juvenile. Oh, he might change. Let him, give him, you know, rehabilitation. Anyway, so they've been found. So Gordon, 51, and his partner, Constance Marten, 38, have been found guilty of gross negligence manslaughter after their baby Victoria died while they were on the run from the authorities. They became the focus of a nationwide search after Gordon, who was then on the UK sex offenders register. Well, no wonder they won't let him out. You know, they were going to just, oh dear. What did she see in him? Or is it just the drugs that gave them something, you know, in common? So anyway, she disappeared apparently while she was pregnant. And social services had already taken 4 of their other children into care. I mean, how many children did they have? Why were they allowed to just go on having children? It just, I It says he was born in the UK, but he left as a child, and he's always maintained his rape conviction was unlawful. Maybe it was, I don't know. So for legal reasons, the jury at their first, so this is a very ongoing, long process. It's taken ages to get this conviction. But the Old Bailey trial was not told that he had been convicted of RAPE in 1989, but details emerged during the retrial. He was sentenced to 40 years in prison. He was sentenced to 40 years. That's quite a big sentence for a 14-year-old. But, of course, just what I was saying earlier, if he was 14 and then he served 20 years, he was only 34 and then he was deported back to the UK. So BBC News can reveal the full details of the brutal assault, having obtained court documents from his sentencing hearing at Broward County Courthouse in Fort Lauderdale, Florida in 1990. And the victim of his crime, Jane, not her real name, told the BBC she had followed the recent legal proceedings from thousands of miles away in the US. She says she was floored when she found out that the man who attacked her more than 3 decades ago was on the run from the police in the UK. And she says that Gordon should have been imprisoned in the US for life. The 4.5 hours I spent with him was enough to know he is evil. So there he is when he was young, when he was a police image of him as he was arrested. So he moved to the US as a child with his mother. They initially lived in New York before settling in Miami. And court papers show how in late April 1989, he broke into his neighbour's bungalow one night wearing a mask and armed with a knife and a pair of garden shears. And he RAPD'd Jane, a mother of 2, multiple times in an attack that lasted more than 4 hours. He threatened to kill her children, nice, who were aged 9 and 7 at the time, if she screamed. And she said that she was 30 at the time. She'd been woken by the sound of her dog barking. I opened the door and was met with the sight of a masked figure dressed in black. And he said, "Don't scream or I'll kill your children." I was told to say goodbye to my children because this was the day I was going to die. I was told I was worthless, not as good as the others, which led me to believe I was not the first one. He had RAPD'd. As he was telling me these things, he was running the knife up and down my body. He was jabbing at my skin, deep enough to hurt but not cut. He was holding it over my head, saying, "All I have to do is push, and you are dead." He enjoyed the nightmare he was causing. So he broke into other neighbour's house. This is a police photo of a shovel used to attack another neighbour. God. So he's saying now he's not guilty, but he pled guilty to 4 counts of armed sexual battery, 1 of armed kidnapping, 1 of aggravated battery, and 2 of burglary with a weapon. But he later withdrew his guilty plea and stood trial in a chaotic court case in 1994 where he was convicted. And the defence's main witness in mitigation during the sentence hearing was Gordon's mother, Sylvia Satchel. "Oh, come on, Mum. You can't defend this sort of twang." She revealed to the judge that her son had been the victim of sexual abuse at the age of 4. "I'm asking for a little leniency for him," she told the judge. "This is a first offender and I wouldn't want him to be a hardened criminal at this young age." I wonder if she's still alive and what she thinks of him now. Is she proud of him? In a foretaste of his behaviour during this is a bit like Erin Patterson, isn't it? He tried to sack his lawyer and said he was too sick to attend court, and he was eventually sentenced to 40 years in prison. So meanwhile, his victim, Jane, He's plagued by nightmares, living with friends and relatives, afraid to be alone. And my children lost me for months while I dealt with what happened to me. He has got the evil eyes, hasn't he? So she now lives in a different part of the US, but misses the Florida climate, particularly during the winter. The cold is so painful, she says. Once a Florida girl, always a Florida girl. Yet another loss caused by Mr. Gordon. So he's not a nice person. This is his background. How did Constance get involved with him? But she's not a nice person either, is she? She just got overtaken by drugs. She's had a silver spoon. She's an aristocrat. She's had financially, at least anyway. I mean, maybe she's had a terrible childhood. I don't know. But she had a choice, like you say, David. She had all the privileges, but she went the other way. And I know that drugs can take over people, but I can't have any sympathy for Constance, because this is a baby that's dead because of her. Little baby Victoria. That's where my sympathies are. Poor little thing. Never had any chance at life. Hopefully sleeping in the arms of Jesus again. Jesus said, suffer the children to come unto me. This little girl, she only had a couple of hours of life, and she suffered all the way through those couple of hours. And she suffered because of the people that were supposed to be taking care of her. Took her out in the elements. It was freezing cold. So my anger with Constance is she put this horrible, nasty, vicious twat ahead of her own child. That's unforgivable, in my opinion. In fact, it sounds like she put him in front of all of her children. Why would she just keep going on having? Why just keep having children if you can't look after them? She put him first, and Victoria should have been put first. All the children should have been put first. She put drugs first. Him, he's just does not even worthy of my headspace. For after what he did when he was younger as well, he's just a horrible person. They just lock him up and he never gets out of prison. I hope. Constance, my resentment towards her is different. She put him first. How could she? How could she put him before little Victoria? Just makes me so angry. When people make choices in their life, like when it's just them, that's one thing, isn't it? You make your choices as long as it's not hurting anybody else. Well, it's only you who's got to pay the piper. But how can you put I couldn't put my dogs I couldn't put a man before my dogs. Never mind put a man before my child. Anyway, we're going to watch this video that explains it quite well. I will comment on it here and there. Very sad.
Newborn baby. They have both been found guilty of manslaughter by gross negligence. That's Constance Marten and Mark Gordon on your screens right now have both been found guilty of manslaughter by gross negligence. You will recall the pair went missing last January 2023, in fact. They were a mother and father. There was a police appeal for their whereabouts because they were concerned that they were missing with their newborn baby. It was understood that at the time, Constance Marten had very recently been given birth, and a massive hunt was on. There was concern for the newborn baby and, of course, the parents' welfare at the time. It was...
God knows where she'd given birth, because when the car set on fire, I'm not sure how their car set on fire, but it did. and the guy that went to try and help them, they left a load of their stuff either in the car or out. And one of the things that was left there was the placenta wrapped in a towel. So she'd obviously either given birth in the car or, you know, outside somewhere, certainly not in a hospital, because they were trying to cover up this pregnancy. God, he's got such an evil face, I can't even look at him. They were trying to cover up this pregnancy because they didn't want the social services to take this child off them. It's a shame that the social services didn't get to them in time.
Later, that the baby's body was found wrapped in a carrier bag in an allotment. Constance, Marten and Mark Gordon found guilty of manslaughter by gross negligence. Our correspondent Ashna Harinag has this report.
Yeah, and the baby was found in a carrier bag on an allotment. We'll see that later when the police find the baby. Again, more trauma for the police. People can criticise the police all they like, but imagine finding a dead baby in a carrier bag. How's that going to affect your mental health? Trauma. God, the contempt that they showed their own child by just dumping it in a carrier bag in the allotment. I don't, you know, like they at least could have tried to give it a decent burial or taken it to a hospital where it would get some respect. Poor little Victoria. Just dumped like trash. Disgusting.
The tiny frame of newborn baby Victoria, fragile and failed by her parents. Constance, Marten and Mark Gordon risked her life to keep her all to themselves. This is one of the last times she'd be seen alive. This was the moment the manhunt for them began, after their car caught fire on a motorway in Bolton.
I mean, this was really strange. I don't know why their car caught fire. And this was in Bolton. So this is where this story started, in Bolton, which is near Manchester in the UK.
In January 2023. Gordon was talking to Mr. Hudson, who filmed this video.
Nearest rest stop. The nearest rest stop.
He and his son had pulled over and tried to help, but it became clear the couple wanted to be left alone.
She sort of says, do you want to get on your way? And I said, no, well, we can wait a bit if you want. No, you'd be fine. We'll be fine now. So just as I'm walking back to my van, I put my hand on top of the baby's head. And I just said, God bless. And then got back into our van and drove off. No.
Yeah. So, I mean, this poor guy now, he's feeling guilty. See how everyone always ends up feeling guilty except the twonks that do things. He feels guilty because he feels he should have stayed with them and maybe, you know, the baby would have been taken off them. But they couldn't wait to get rid of him, could they? Because they just wanted to go on the run. They didn't want the authorities there. They didn't want the police. They didn't want ambulance. They didn't want anybody interfering. And this poor guy, he's now feeling bad because he wishes he would have stayed. He touched that poor little baby's head and said, God bless. And that little baby, oh gosh, it just honestly really upsets me, this. I cannot believe that a mother could, or a father, could do that to their baby, just put it so much at risk, and then when it died, just put it in a carrier bag on an allotment. You just can't get your head around it.
If I hadn't have touched the baby's head, maybe I wouldn't have felt the way I felt.
It's thought Mr. Hudson is the only person aside from the couple to have interacted with the baby.
It did lie heavy on me. I didn't like my thoughts at that time because I was still thinking, what if the police had have come? What if I'd have stayed?
The car had been packed full of clothing, food, notebooks and the placenta from the birth. What followed is the couple spending more than 50 days on the run, often using the cover of darkness to travel hundreds of miles across the country, living on.
I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? Why keep the placenta? Just seems like, because, you know, placenta is an organ, isn't it? Or it's like, oh, it's going to rot, isn't it? Oh, just, this is, again, so we're coming back to see the level of detachment you would need to do these things. That's drugs that will give them. I presume they were taking drugs all the time they were on the run. How else could they get through it? And how were they feeding that baby? Because if Constance was taking drugs and breastfeeding, then the baby would have been taking drugs as well. You know, so it just, you cannot believe that this could happen in Britain. You know, in a civilized country in this day and age, and they were on the run for a long time. The police were always just a couple of steps behind them, even in a little country like Britain, because Constance had money, so they would get taxis all over the UK. We'll see in a moment how Sky News explains, you know, where they went here, there and everywhere in taxis, staying at hotels. So they had money, but they didn't seem to think their child's life was important enough, or what they wanted to keep it to themselves. What for?
Undetected, all with their newborn. They spent hundreds of pounds on taxis, travelling from Bolton to London to Essex and the South Coast, before choosing to live off-grid in sub-zero temperatures. They ditched a buggy hours after buying it, and according to the prosecution, carried Victoria in a supermarket shopping bag instead. It was in this same bag that her body would later be found. For weeks.
So they're carrying the baby in the supermarket shopping bag. I wonder if it was a bag for life. Remember, we watched that other twonk in Manchester who killed poor Stuart Everett, and you know, carried his body parts all over Manchester to dump them in bags for life. So that's they had a trolley for little Victoria, and then they dumped the trolley. Why, I have no idea. And then carried her around in a supermarket bag, and that was the bag that her poor little body was found in.
Miss Marten carried her around in her coat, hiding her from prying eyes. Their decisions, the jury were told, were
Very
selfish.
selfish.
They'd been previously warned about the dangers of living in a tent with a newborn, but families say they had little choice and had to keep moving. This is Karen Satchel, Gordon's sister. She believes the spotlight on them was too harsh.
I think they were traumatized as a couple.
Oh, for fuck's sake. They were traumatized as a couple. And, you know, are you on drugs? Where's your teeth? I'm sorry, I'm so angry now. I can't. If she's going to defend them, she's going to defend them. The baby's dead. You know, do something about your teeth, woman. You know, drugs. You're feeling sorry for him. Now this starts to explain things. His mum's felt sorry for him. His sister's feeling sorry for him. Oh, they were traumatised. Sorry, I'm going to swear again. Just fuck off.
And didn't know what to do and deal with it. And it's very, very hot, you know, heart-clenching to find that. Can you imagine how you feel? Nobody can actually imagine that unless they've actually lived it.
Oh, for fuck off. Well, do you know, didn't get a chance to live anything. Victoria didn't get a chance to live because of your brother, who also is a rapist and God knows what else he's done in his life. Now, what has he ever done that's positive in life? Nothing. There's a reason why his children were taken away from him. I mean, the thing is, what we have to remember, social services, normally they're pretty slow to take children away, aren't they? So many times social services get slagged off because they don't take children away quickly enough. So if it's got to a point where all their children have been taken off them, there was a good reason for it, you stupid woman.
You know, and the trauma now that you're under surveillance and underneath all the scrutiny, and then the baby dies. It's like, wow, oh my God, what are we going to do now?
She says her younger brother had always been private about his family life. Karen had never met Marten.
I know he called me once and said he was with his girl and he's had another baby. So I was like, where is she? Bring her, let me see her, you know. But he says, yeah, one day I'll come by, but he never actually did show up. And when he does,
No, he didn't show up because he went on the run and his baby died and he's just been charged with manslaughter. That's why he didn't come. He didn't come over for Sunday lunch. Oh.
he shows up by himself.
She found out the couple were missing at the same time as everyone else.
Came on the news and I saw the pictures of them. And we all kind of
It's hilarious. It's hilarious. The baby's died. She thinks it's funny. I hate this woman.
Call mom, but we never would have found anything of the sort. I don't know what went wrong.
It was for the jury to decide whether Gordon knew right from wrong. The retrial heard extraordinary revelations about his past offences as a teenager in the United States.
He did get 40 years imprisonment even as a 14-year-old and was released after 22 years. He went into a neighbour's address and he was armed and he attempted to rape her. And then on another occasion he went into another property armed, but there was a male occupant this time.
That man was Patrick Nash.
I had my yard tools out on the back porch. He came in with a shovel and he attacked me with a shovel.
Speaking from his home in Florida, he recalled the night an armed Gordon broke in.
My wife always had premonitions of somebody standing at the end of our bed and she would wake up screaming and I'd have to calm her down. But this particular morning she woke up and there was somebody there. So as I was getting out of bed, I was attacked. So I had to go have stitches in my scalp. I think I got like between 12 and 17 stitches or staples. We were both upset, you know. It was very frightful. We didn't sleep well for quite some time.
Gordon met Marten in 2014. Victoria was...
Well, she looks a bit different there, doesn't she? Do you know what I mean? This is what either drugs or this man has done to her, or probably a combination of both. And she's done it to herself in many ways, of course, because she's gone along with it. There's nothing that would make me take my child out into those conditions and leave it in a carrier bag in an allotment. Nothing. And that sister of his, oh God, I'm fuming. Because you know what, that's what's wrong with a lot of these perpetrators. Their families make excuses for them. You know, if that was my brother or my son or whatever, I'm not saying I would desert them, because at the end of the day, your loved ones, your family, you probably would visit them in prison maybe. You wouldn't make excuses for them. That I would definitely not do. I know that 100%. If I was being interviewed because my brother had done what this fucking horrible twonker's done, I would say if what he's done is terrible, but he's my brother and I'm going to go and visit him, or blah blah blah, I'm here if he wants to talk to me, but what he's done is terrible. You know, she was like, oh, you can't understand, because unless you've been there. Well, no, I've never been there. I've got to admit, I've never been there. I've never been so high on drugs that I went on the run with a baby that I kept in a carrier bag and a placenta in my car, and then roamed all over. When I had loads of money, I had all the opportunities really to, I could do whatever I liked, and what I chose to do was kill my baby. No, I've never done that. You're right. I don't know how that must feel. It must have been awful. Silly bitch. Sorry. Excuse me. I'm angry with that woman.
The couple's fifth child. The other four are all now in care.
Right, where's your child?
When they were eventually arrested at the end of February 2023, both repeatedly refused to answer questions about the baby's whereabouts.
You're under arrest for child neglect.
Where is your child?
With Gordon more focused on trying to eat food he just bought.
Yeah, they're totally drugged off their faces apart from anything when they were arrested. She doesn't know what day it is. Look at her. She hasn't got a clue what day it is. They're asking her, where's her baby? She's just like, I don't know.
Refused to answer questions about the baby's whereabouts.
You're under arrest for child neglect.
Why are we under arrest? God. Do you know, I tell you honestly, I know I keep saying it. You can give the police all the criticism you like, but how they restrain themselves from punching that woman in the face, I don't know. I couldn't be I'm not level enough. I'm not neutral enough. I couldn't be neutral to someone like her or him. So when they arrest him in a minute, he's just trying to eat the food he's just bought. They don't give a shit about their kids.
Where is your child?
With Gordon more focused on trying to eat food he'd just bought.
Put the stuff down. We're going to put you in cuffs. Then we will talk about you eating.
Let me have my food.
Where's my food?
2 days later, baby Victoria's...
Where's my food? Fuck the baby. I don't care where the baby is. Where's my McDonald's? Oh, God, I mean, what sentence are they going to get? Please, God, let it be a long sentence.
body was found in a shopping bag inside this shed, covered with rubbish and dirt.
Yeah. So when the poor guy finds it, the policeman, imagine that. So you're looking for a load of shit anyway. You're just picking through rubbish, trying to find a dead baby. Anyway, they did find her. Bless her.
A jury has now found that her parents' actions led to her entirely avoidable death at just a few weeks old. Ashna Harinag, Sky News.
And we are bringing you that breaking news on the retrial of Constance Marten and Mark Gordon, who have been found guilty of manslaughter by gross negligence of their small baby named Victoria. So Constance Marten and Mark Gordon found guilty of manslaughter by gross negligence. We are now getting some information as well of what happened in court today. It's understood that there was no response from either of the defendants when this verdict came through. They refused to stand up. It says that Mark Gordon was leaning his head back with his eyes closed, and Constance Marten has a look of resignation. The judge...
They're just detaching. You know, that's what they're just detached from it. It's like that baby never existed. So honestly, I think some people should be sterilised, shouldn't they? I mean, for God's sake, how is she allowed to just have child after child after child and then, you know, not look after them? There's got to be... And, you know, it's so unfair, isn't it? Because there's so many people who would love to have children, who would treat those children like precious little angels, like they should be treated like. And those babies, you know, would love a baby. And then you've got her having baby after baby and not looking after them, and even resulting in the death of Victoria. And she just, you know, if she's ever let out of prison again, she'll only have another baby, probably with him again. Awful people. Terrible. And they don't even show any emotion or caring. They're just detached, because more important than the baby are the drugs. The drugs are all that's important.
Meanwhile, has thanked the jury and said that since they have spent so much time on this trial, they can be excused from all future jury service. So a reminder of our breaking news here on Sky News that Constance Marten and Mark Gordon have both been found guilty of manslaughter by gross negligence following the death of their daughter, baby Victoria. She died just a few weeks old, as we just saw in that report. Her body was found in a shopping bag shortly after both of them went missing. And a massive police appeal at the time in January 2023 led to eventually the discovery of Victoria's body. So during the retrial, the jury heard details of the couple's journey across the country and how they were eventually caught. Well, this report from data and forensics correspondent Tom Cheshire contains distressing details of child neglect.
Yeah, so just to warn, this is a really good report. Tom Cheshire is not one of my favourite reporters on Sky News, but I think this is a really good report he's put together. But just to warn you, it is distressing.
Multiple sightings, a £10,000 reward for information, and a massive police hunt. Constance Marten and Mark Gordon managed to travel hundreds of miles from the north of the country to the south. This is how they evaded the authorities. Constance Marten was reported missing on the 5th of January. That same evening, the car she'd been travelling in with partner Mark Gordon caught fire on the M61 near Bolton. Van driver Ken Hudson had been behind them on the motorway. He pulled over to help them and called the emergency services. The couple left on foot, heading towards Bolton. They left behind a placenta wrapped in a towel and Martin's passport, along with a bag of more than 30 mobile phones, used nappies, a cat in a pet carrier, and a Bible.
Oh, yeah, I'd forgotten about the cat. So there was a cat as well in that car. They left it behind. I hope the cat's all right. I presume it's been rehomed. And a Bible. But, I mean, what an odd mixture. So you've got her passport, the placenta, the Bible, and a cat in a cat carrier. What did they think they were going to do with the bloody cat, for God's sake? Oh, it's a good job. It's a good job they left the cat behind. The cat would probably be dead by now as well.
A local resident gave them a lift into Bolton, where they were seen at the Bolton Interchange bus station, before deciding to take a taxi 35 miles to Liverpool, paying £80. From there, they flagged down another taxi, which took them 270 miles across the country to Harwich in Essex. Driver Ali Yaria said the woman was shivering and he saw a baby inside the woman's jacket wearing only a nappy. In Harwich, they checked into a Premier Inn using a false name, Thomas. Hotel staff said Martin paid in cash and seemed, quote, quite distressed. After being asked to leave in the morning because they couldn't provide proof of identity, they moved to the Friat Hotel for the night. They checked out early the next morning. Martin was seen outside Harwich Port 2 hours later. A member of the public confronted the couple, having seen a news report about their disappearance. Dale Gosling said that a baby was wrapped inside Martin's coat and that he heard crying.
So I don't know if you remember, if you watched British news, it was all over the news at the time. And as I say, I did do a couple of videos about it at the time. Now, the thing is, Constance, she was the one with the money. You know, she had the money. She could have left him at any time. She could have gone to a hospital, you know, waited till he'd gone out to buy food or done whatever. And she could have gone to the police, phoned the police, you know, she had options and she chose not to do it. So she is, you know, just as responsible, if not more so, because she was the one with the money. She had options. Sometimes when women aren't the powerful one, the one with the economic power, they don't have options. She had options and she put him and drugs over her child's life. So, I don't know what sort of sentence they'll get for this. I really don't know.
The couple then took a taxi from Harwich to Colchester. Then, later that morning, another taxi from Colchester to East Ham in East London. CCTV showed the couple getting out of the cab with their baby girl, Victoria. Martin cradling the child under her jacket.
Yeah, so they spent fortunes on taxis. And you know what they should have done? It was gone and stayed somewhere proper. Why didn't they rent an Airbnb or something? Or, you know, get that baby out of the elements, carrying it around in a fucking supermarket bag.
Later that day, Gordon bought a buggy in Argos before meeting Martin in a kebab shop. She assembled the buggy and then put the baby in. They then took a series of taxis around London, abandoning the buggy and, prosecutors said, transferring the baby to a Lidl shopping bag instead. From North London, they headed to the port town of New Haven, arriving at 5 in the morning. A CCTV camera at a petrol station shows them wandering around in the early hours, before heading towards the South Downs on foot. They weren't seen again until 4 days later. Martin was back at the garage, buying sweets, snacks and petrol. They claimed the baby had already died by this point. The next sighting was on the outskirts of Brighton.
So did you see that food they were buying? It was crisps and, you know, so you get the munchies because of the drugs they're taking. So by then, apparently, according to them, the baby was dead. Bless it. Poor little Victoria.
Gordon was spotted emerging from a tent in the woods in Stanmer Park. 2 weeks later, the Met Police offered a £10,000 reward for information.
It's a bit slow, that, wasn't it, with the reward, and £10,000. I mean, it's a lot. I'm not saying it's not a lot of money, of course it is, but this is a baby that we're looking for. And the thing is, because of the environment that they would have moved in, their associates would have been involved in drugs and things, wouldn't they? And they probably wouldn't want to talk to the police, but money makes people talk, doesn't it? So a bigger reward might have helped to save. But by then, the baby was already dead, to be honest, before they even put out a reward.
But it was more than a fortnight before witnesses reported further sightings. One near Hollingbury Golf Course in Brighton, another in the Coldine Lane area of the city, and back in Stanmer Park a day later. Witness Pauline Mason told the court she saw a mother with a baby who she believed was dead. On the 20th of February, the pair were captured on CCTV, trying and failing to break into Hollingbury Golf Course and rummaging through the bins. A week later, they were back in the same area.
I mean, what's she doing? Rummaging through the bins for this man. God, you know, how I'm just speechless. As I say, she had economic power. She could have left him, and she didn't. Just beyond me.
This time, though, they would not go unnoticed. Their run was about to come to an end. They were spotted in a local shop buying food and withdrawing cash. A member of the public who recognised them from media reporting called the police. And a few minutes later, the couple were arrested in nearby Stanmer Villas.
You're under arrest for child neglect.
Where is your child?
They were repeatedly asked where the child was.
Where's the child? Is the child alive?
That day, the police launched a large-scale search for the baby. More than 200 officers covered an area of 7 miles by 13 miles to look for the baby, from where the couple were sighted to where they were arrested.
I'll tell you what, it's a miracle they found that baby. A miracle. At least she could be laid to rest, poor little thing, and not just left there like rubbish. But it was a miracle that they found her, because it's such a big area to search.
Over the next few days, an area of 90 square miles was scoured, using dogs, drones, thermal cameras and a helicopter. On March the 1st, police found baby Victoria's body in a disused shed near the allotments. This is the moment when baby Victoria's remains are found inside a little shopping bag. There may have been little hope at that stage of finding the child alive. But this was an ending more disturbing.
I bet this guy's had a few nightmares, don't you? Like they've had to sort through all this shit, all these bags, looking for a dead baby, and they found a dead baby. They found little Victoria. But I expect he's had quite a few nightmares, this guy.
Than anyone had thought. Tom Cheshire, Sky News.
Well, Ken Hudson pulled over after the couple's car caught fire near Bolton. He told Sky's Ashna Harinag the couple wanted him to leave rather than help them.
She's just stood there. And then I realised it's a baby. And I just said, oh, how's the baby? How's the baby? And she said, she's fine.
Yeah, fine.
And I said, oh, right, okay. And then the next thing that they want to do is for us to go. I can see the top of the baby's head. It looked as though it was wrapped up. She's with somebody else, although they didn't seem to speak. She's with somebody else. It's getting late. So I said to Jack, shall we go? And Jack says, yeah. So just as I'm walking back to my van, I put my hand on top of the baby's head. And I just said, God bless. And then got back into our van and drove off. Now, if I hadn't have touched the baby's head, Maybe I wouldn't have felt the way I felt. I said to my wife, I said, if I'd have waited for the emergency services and they'd have arrived, maybe the police would have come, maybe the ambulance would have come.
Yeah, again, here's the guilt, isn't it? So, but everyone feeling guilty except these two. Couldn't give a shit. Just where's my next drug fix coming from? Oh yeah, another baby. Oh, don't matter, I can have another baby. Oh well, yeah. What was Victoria a 5th baby or a 6th baby? Just like, you know, can have another baby, but more important, where am I getting my next drugs from? And then, you know, the thing is, people, even if it's not your baby, people have a protective instinct towards babies, don't they? That is like a normal part of human, the way we're built, men and women. You know, when babies are distressed, we feel distressed. Not these two. Nah, not these two. Not even for their own baby. And, you know, I hope she doesn't get a chance to have more babies. I mean, she's still young enough to have more. She's 38, I think. So she could have another 10 yet. Just hope she never gets out of prison.